Maybe let's start with Bruce Allen.
Okay.
Okay, because Bruce spoke, and it seems like Bruce is in charge, although it seems like there's just a big group of people. And one thing that he talked about yesterday, and he talked about it, is kind of the response to whether there is communication, coordination between the coaches, the scouting staff, the GM, which is Doug Williams. And I don't take it literally when he says he meets with them 12 times a day, but he says that he meets with Jay 12 times a day, with Doug 15 times a day, with Minuski 8 times a day. Like, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it definitely not literal, and also depends on your definition of meet. Like, they surely walk past each other. There's like a football wing of Redskins Park, and their offices are all over there. So, yeah, they walk past each other. Hey, Doug. Hey, Jay. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Greg, apparently. They're all over there. And, yes, they are in communication. I think that the kind of interesting thing to figure out is, like, who's getting what they want, and ultimately, like, what's the balance between when Jay wants something, when the scouts want something, and those things are different. Like, how are those problems resolved? And, I think it depends on what the issue is. I think sometimes Bruce is the one who's really driving those decisions. I think sometimes maybe it's left more to Doug. But ultimately, I think sometimes Jay kind of gets to push his way. I think that may be happening less. And
So
maybe
they corroborate.
Yeah, it is definitely a collaboration. The Reds.
I said corroborate. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Close enough.
It's fine. One of us is up for red eye. But yeah, no, I think that the collaboration thing is real. When when Bruce has said for years, like, we make Redskins decisions, I think that's real. But at the same time, like, what happens when there is a big, important disagreement? Do you trust the person who's in charge to make the right decision, to take in the right data? Are they being persuaded by the right things? And unless we're in those meetings, we're never going to know. But ultimately, I think we do know Bruce is the one who would settle those decisions.
I was going to say, what's your vibe? Does Jay ever win a battle?
Yes.
He does.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even a battle. Sometimes it's just like, you kind of give him one here. Like, I was told in the draft room last year, like, Trey Quinn's his guy. Like, the other guy, other people liked him. It's not like everyone else was like, hey, this guy's going to be a bust. But when they had that last extra 7th-round pick, it's like, I want this Quinn guy. I think he can play. Can we please
They
draft
threw him a bone on the last pick in the draft.
Hey, you can pick Mr. Irrelevant. There you go.
If you're Kyle Smith in the scouts and, like, you maybe like someone else a little bit better, and you've done this for the entire year, and like, scouts will tell you, like, where we make our money is rounds 4 through 7. And so if, like, all of a sudden you're sacrificing one of your guys, like, oh yeah, we finally get our deep cut guys because the coach is like, I want this receiver, and the coach is offensive Jay Gruden. Like, yeah, I think that's a little more than throwing him a bone. And look, that wound up being a good thing.
He's
I
a good
think
player.
by the same token, free agency last year, you don't know who's driving the Paul Richardson bus? Jay Gruden.
Is that Jay?
There's nobody that likes Paul Richardson more than Jay.
By the way, if I'm the personnel guys, I'm going to want something in writing saying, if Quinn busts, it's not my guy.
Right.
That was not my pick. That was one the coach stood on the table for.
It's different when it's like, the scouts like, no, we don't like this guy. And I don't have a good example of when this has happened. That this stuff, that stuff is harder to get out. But like, scouts are saying, absolutely not. Jay's like, yes, please, I want this guy with all my life. Like, when that happens, and I don't think that would happen that often, because I think these guys have done at least on the college side, have done a relatively good job of understanding what the other is looking for. I think on the pro side, that's where it's a little more interesting, and I think that's where Jay was speaking at his season-ending press conference last year, where he's like, we bring these guys in during the year. Are they always the guy that we've been better off going with some other option? And whether that was the quarterback situation, some of the O-linemen, that's where I have the bigger.
Let me give you another scenario then. If at 15, if Jay Gruden really wanted Drew Lock, but Bruce Allen really wanted Daniel Jones, who are they taking?
It's a tough. So Jones ultimately would be the answer, and that's Bruce's job. He's the president. The head coach doesn't pick the player.
But he doesn't know anything about a quarterback.
Well, that's what the second point I would get to, though, is like, I don't know how Bruce gets to that decision.
Okay,
he might be gathering information from Jay, from his scouts.
Look, it's just hypothetical.
From Doug Williams.
If quote unquote Bruce is diehard on Daniel Jones and Jay is diehard on Locke, it's because Kyle Smith and the scouts that
They all
were
like
under
Jones.
him,
Right.
and probably Doug and maybe Kevin O'Connell and everyone else is on Jones. Like, it's not going to be Bruce sitting down, watching tape, forming an opinion. Like, that's not really his job. His job is to listen to people.
Right.
And, I think then it's a matter of who he's listening to at what times, and I think that has shape-shifted over the years.
Joined by Craig Hoffman, a Redskins beat reporter. So let's talk about quarterback. My sense, and you were there, you listened to Bruce, you listened to Jay, is that they are not married to drafting a quarterback.
No.
What is your sense?
That they're not at all married. I think they will have, JP Finley has a really good term for this that I like that he put in an article last week, QBX, a quarterback on a rookie contract. And that could be anyone from Josh Rosen to a first-round rookie to a seventh-round rookie. They're going to have a QBX. I think who that QBX depends on, or determines a lot of how much QBX plays. Like if it's Rosen, he's going to come in, he's going to compete, he's probably going to win the job. If it's Drew Lock, then he'll compete, but I don't know if he ultimately beats out Keenum and McCoy to play this year. If it's Mark Rippon in the 4th or 5th, or Brett Rippon in the 4th or 5th, then that guy's going to be a backup this year. But they'll have another quarterback.
So have a third quarterback, but it's not necessarily going to be a high draft choice.
Yeah, and I don't think they're really high on anybody but Kyler, and Kyler's not going to be available.
Right.
So at this point, I wouldn't say stunned because, look at this. Like, if they go draft a quarterback at 15, you can't be like, oh, my God, I'm so surprised that the team with Case Keenum and Colt McCoy drafted a quarterback at 15. But at this point, I would say I'd be a little surprised if they wind up taking a quarterback at 15. Also because there's going to be a really, really good, or maybe 3 or 4 really other positions available.